Dear brothers and sisters, good evening and welcome back to our study sessions of the life of Blessed Luigi Maria Monti, founder of the Congregation of the Sons of the Immaculate Conception. In our first session, we practically shared the birth and childhood of Luigi, who was born in Bovicio, Lombardy in 1825 as a child of Angelo and Teresa. From his very early childhood, he manifested that great piety, leadership qualities, and also a great love to the Immaculate Mother. These three things distinguishes Luigi Monti from among his peers. He lost his dad Angelo when he was 12 years old, and he starts working in a nearby village, earning for the family, helping his mom and other children. And later, when he was 20, he also lost his mom Teresa. By the time Luigi started getting around him his companions of the same age group, in the evening, in the little workshop in his house, started praying hymns, reading the lives of saints, and also special devotion, praying rosary to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And they started also going around helping people in need. And this small group, the villagers started calling Company of Friars, Company of Youngsters. That is where we just completed the first session. And he started connecting with his spiritual director, Luigi Rossi, who guided him to slowly get connected with a group of other friars called the Sons of Mary, who were in Brescia, and that was the time. Now, when we get into the second session, our first point is the political turmoil that was dominant in the northern region of Lombardy. We know that Jesus was a revolutionary, according to the Pharisees. And for the Roman emperors, the first Christians were political activists. In those days, especially in 1847, to ruin someone, all you needed to do was to accuse them of conspiracy. Plots were being hatched by secret societies and revolutionary groups. There was a general air of political turbulence and social intolerance. The whole of Europe was undergoing political crisis and uncertainty. On one side, the impact of French Revolution still active, and towards the end of 1847, Karl Marx launched his Communist Manifesto as a warning for future upheaval. And in north of Italy, Lombardy, the dominant Austrians under Charles Albert received a defeat. They were expelled from Milan. So the echoes of this political turmoil somehow impacted the little village Bovicio also as part of Lombardy. The peasants and the artisans were poorly informed of the reality. So the people in the village started inscriptions and conscriptions, and naturally Luigi and his young group, the Company of Friars, so-called, followed it. However, the revolutionaries interpreted the spiritual detachment of Company of Friars and their tranquil ways of prayerful gatherings as like a patriotism, and were accused of supporting the Austrians. If you are not in favor of the patriots, you can be accused of not being for patriotism. However, when Austrians returned, Monti's followers also were accused of partisans to Piedmont group. They were also accused of being a secret society, a very dangerous time in those days, like one of the many fraternities which were formed in Milan area in early 1850 to prepare for the liberation of the fatherland in collaboration with Mazzini's revolutionary organization. The Austrian imperial records describe Mondi's society, the so-called Company of Friars, as a conspiracy set to be sent to gallows. Brothers and sisters, we know that the revolution Luigi was aiming at was a gospel revolution, the work and prayer made up of life of consecration and commitment, doing good in the neighborhood. So something changes when, after 36 years of service as pastor at Bovisio St. Pancras Parish, Charles Chicheri is retired and the new pastor, Caldara, takes charge of the parish. But that was really a great change to the Company of Friars. Why? Because either fear of the Jansenist formation, Caldara started disliking the young group of Monti. He said, I don't want this Company of Friars in my parish. If they don't stop all their activities, I will stop them. Caldara asked Luigi to close the society. If not, he said he would report the Friars to the Archbishop as heretics. Really, Monti was shocked at these statements. When Monti said that, he did not find any reason to do so, for the Caldara reported them to the commissioner as a secret society. The magistrate intervenes and asked Monti to appear before the court in Desio. Monti rushed to visit his spiritual director, Father Dozzi, and asked for advice how to handle the new situation. And Dozzi told him that God would suggest to him what to say. He underwent a severe questioning by the judge, but just after questioning him, finding no charges, the judge releases Luigi Monti. Father Caldara and the commissioner were not happy that Monti was released because their plan to abolish the Company of Friars came to nothing. 1 year later, in September 1851, one day police came with a warrant to search the house of Luigi Monti at Bovisio. Found materials what? Songbooks, lives of saints, prayer books, sacred images, and confiscated all of them. And on 7th September 1851, the authorities arrested 13 young men of Company of Friars, including Luigi's own brother Joseph Monti, who was functioning as a director of the group. Soon, the local people, shocked and confused, organized a demonstration against the parish priest Caldara, whom they blamed for their arrest. The city mayor intervened to protect the parish priest from a possible violent attack and to have the 13 young men released. It was so strange to note the order issued by General Julie to the commissioner. He wrote, I grant you permission to arrest and imprison all members of Company of Friars, and if you arrest no more than 4, shoot them on the spot without trial. If there are more of them, you must follow the penal code. Fortunately, the group they arrested were 13 of them, and it isn't not clear till today why 4 could be shot without trial and the 13 not. The day after, Luigi with the 2 others too were arrested to make the group 16. All the arrested were sent to the jail in the nearby city called Desio, and they all behaved as if they were on their honeymoon. This is the words of our author Igino Giordani. The group kissed the wall of the prison and declared how lucky they were to be able to imitate in a small way their divine master. The prison cell they were in was too small, with little ventilation, of dirty condition. In spite of all the discomfort, the group did not lose heart, but spent time in prayers and singing to the Blessed Virgin. So much so that the people around villages gathered under the window of the prison to listen to their beautiful singing and prayers. Many powerful individuals and counts families wrote to the authorities for the release of the group, knowing their innocence. Archbishop of Milan Romelli repeatedly pleaded for their release and appealed directly to Emperor Franz Joseph when he was in Milan. Only after 72 days of imprisonment, after rigorous interrogation and procedures, those friars were found innocent and were released. The 16 of them went in procession as they came out from the prison to the nearby church and sang together Magnificat, thanking the Lord and receiving the Holy Communion during the Mass. They came out stronger and more convinced of the good they were called by God to do. Friends, now let us talk about the beginning when Luigi connects with the religious community of Sons of Mary. Luigi left strengthened from the prison, and that the imprisonment experience really made him more powerful and started all over again the company of friars with greater vigor, and he started reconnecting with his spiritual director, Father Dossi, who came to know about a similar community in Brescia, nearby city, founded by Ludovico Pavoni, a saintly priest who later was canonized as saint in October 2016 by Pope Francis. So the Pavonians had their name Sons of Mary, and they were mostly made of orphans and abandoned children. They had the charism of taking care of the needy and abandoned. Ludovico Pavoni, the founder, died in 1849, not long after founding the religious community, leaving his community in crisis, lack of vocations. So, Luigi Dossi, Luigi Monti's spiritual director, introduced himself to the Superior General of the Sons of Mary, Father Baldini, and offered the company of friars, the group of youngsters who were very ardent, expressing a readiness to accept the norms of the Sons of Mary. So, naturally, Monti, following the direction of his spiritual director, accepted the proposal, and on November 28, 1852, Luigi from Bovisio moved to Brescia and took the religious habit of the Sons of Mary and did the profession, where Dossi with other four had become part of Sons of Mary. And this place, Brescia, starts the very first beginning of the apostolate of taking care of the sick. In Brescia, with the Sons of Mary, Luigi was entrusted with the care of the sick, while other four were teaching the trade to orphans. To do the job properly, Luigi took training in nursing, in minor surgery and pharmacy, and obtained the diploma of phlebotomy. And he set up an infirmary and a surgery room and pharmacy there in Brescia. Father Dossi helped Monti in cultivating interest and love for caring of the sick. Now, there was a great outbreak of cholera in 1855 in Brescia. The 6 years of Luigi's life with the Sons of Mary can be considered as actually his second phase of preparation for founding the religious congregation. When Brescia witnessed the heavy outbreak of cholera, the whole city was under the impact of the epidemic, and it spread all over Italy. The small city of Brescia registered around 1,703 people affected by cholera. Luigi, together with the three other friars, decides to go to Lazaretto, where those affected by cholera were treated and quarantined. 471 died of cholera, while 292 were treated and healed with the great adventurous spirit of Luigi and his friends. To bring healing to many affected, Luigi took up heavy and menial services and got pretty tired, but God protected him from being affected by the epidemic. There in Brescia, later, Luigi also come across a saintly woman called Sister Maria Crocifissa di Rosa, who had founded the religious order called Handmaids of Charity to take care of the sick. Actually, these sisters took care of the sick in the hospital of Brescia. Father Dossi, while once visiting the hospital, saw how badly the male ward is taken care of and thought of founding a community of consecrated male nurses similar to the Handmaids of Charity founded by Saint Maria Crocifissa di Rosa. I would like to bring to your attention that Maria Crocifissa di Rosa died at the young age of 42 in 1855 during the cholera time, and she was later canonized in 1954, and she is a saint now. It was Monsignor Ferdinand Manini, the Bishop of Cremona, nearby city, who was chaplain to these sisters who were taking care of the hospital in Brescia. And he had gathered a group of young men to serve the sick. From among them, the saintly Sister Maria Crocifissa di Rosa introduced a vibrant young nurse named Cyprian Pezzini of Cremona to Father Luigi Dossi and Luigi Monti. The three together began to make plans to start an institute with many young men of Luigi Monti, naturally, taking direction from Dossi. But the initiative began by Pezzini, first in Brescia, then later in the hospital of Bergamo, encountered a lot of challenges and difficulties. Because the Capuchin chaplains in the hospital were attempting to integrate the group of Pezzini as a third order to the Capuchins. The spiritual director Luigi Dossi realized the fact that though very enthusiastic, with his impulsive character, Cyprian Pezzini, left alone, may not be able to accomplish the mission. So Dossi decided to engage Monti with responsibility while guiding them to work together. But due to the growing friction in Brescia community of Sons of Mary, Dossi decided to move to a nearby place called Busalengo in the neighborhood of Brescia. Note the point, at Busalengo, Luigi Dossi, Cyprian Pezzini and Monti together in March 1857 make a strategy for a congregation of hospital workers and educators. At that time when they were discussing what name should be given, Luigi proposes the name, it should be Sons of Immaculate Conception. And actually the original name of the religious order proposed by Monti is Fratelli Ospedalieri dell'Immacolata Concezione, Hospital of Brothers of Immaculate Conception. This was also to commemorate the dogma of the Immaculate Conception proclaimed in 1854, just 3 years back, by the Holy Pope Pius IX. By the time Luigi had trained 20 young men as professional nurses because he was already having his diploma in nursing and had begun their religious formation and moral formation. However, the history later would tell us that out of these three, Tosi, Pezzini, and Monti, only Luigi Monti will be able to complete this project and therefore recognized by the Universal Church as the true founder of the Congregation of the Sons of the Immaculate Conception. Even though they were planning the strategy, they start with the trials at the very outset. Why? Because obtaining a letter of introduction from the Bishop of Bergamo, Cyprian Pezzini, who by the time had become very impatient to the situation, in March 1856 left alone, journeying towards Rome. And in Rome, he met with the Cardinal Vitelleschi, the commander-in-chief of one of the largest hospitals of Europe, Santo Spirito Hospital under Vatican administration. Pope Pius IX in January 1857 gave a welcome to Pezzini and also their proposal, and the Cardinal entrusted Pezzini and his plan of male nurses for the Hospital of Holy Spirit to the care of the Capuchin fathers who were the chaplains to the Santo Spirito Hospital. Once proposing the plan, Pezzini went back to Lombardy with the intention of gathering more young men for realizing this project. Our author, Igino, would write like this. By character, Pezzini was ardent and enthusiastic, but impulsive and prone to depression. Monti, instead, was solid, prudent, and had a sound knowledge of place and people. At Dosi's request, Monti was asked to go to Rome to take charge of the healthcare activities proposed by Pezzini in Rome and to be a companion to Pezzini, both as if made to complement each other. Hence, in April 1857, Cardinal Vitelleschi wrote to Pope Pius IX regarding the 18 young men with Pezzini, introducing them to the hospital nursing services. After a period of experiment, a regular rule would be proposed for them. And by July 1857, the first experiment of these male nurses with their consecration at Santo Spirito began. But soon, Pezzini in Rome discovered that the Capuchin chaplains were already recruiting individuals, young men, with whom they intend to start such an experiment authorized by Pope. Brothers and sisters, every project of God has in its DNA the moment of trial. The dreams become a reality and last in time only if it is purified by suffering. While Luigi was waiting in Busolengo near Brescia, he fell ill. Luigi was humiliated and ill-treated by the deputy director of Father Dosi. Long 6 years after leaving his family at Bovisio to join Sons of Mary, Luigi started feeling almost useless. He felt arid in his heart. His prayers didn't seem to be heard. He felt a sense of failure because even God was silent to him. So, this is almost like a dark night in the life of Luigi Monti in Busolengo. It was September 1857, the time of novena for the Nativity of Blessed Virgin Mary. Luigi was in a spiritual crisis, his heart filled with sorrow. He came to know that an institute is being born in Rome in his absence. His friend Pezzini seemed not to connect anymore with him. His prayers became dry, and at heart he started thinking to abandon everything. This, our author Eugenio puts it as the dark night of his soul, created by his physical sickness, his human uncertainty, disintegration of his youthful ideals, separation from his family and friends for more than 6 years as he was away from Bovisio. And as he was suffering alone in his room in Buzolengo, he heard an interior voice. Luigi, go to the chapel and tell your sorrows once more to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. In Luigi's own words, I quote, I was prostrating towards the altar, was unburdening my sorrows and anxieties. In a moment, oh Lord, suddenly the chapel was illuminated. I see Jesus on one side and Immaculate Mary on the other, appearing. In a clear voice, I hear Virgin Mary telling me, Luigi, why are you so sad and downhearted? Take courage and don't be disheartened. How can I abandon you? After all you have done for me, after winning many young men to help them live in chastity, I will never abandon you. Soon after, Jesus confirmed Mary's words by saying, how could I abandon you, Luigi, after you have done so much for my poor, sick ones? Luigi writes, I was immersed in a great joy and consolation. Reassured by this apparition, very unique in the life of Luigi, he acquired a great interior peace that confirmed his decision of self-consecration to God forever. After all, he was convinced that Jesus and Mary were with him. Finally, Monty's human experience, interwoven with the turmoil, is now sealed with that divine promise, the promise he received in his vision in Buzolengo. We conclude this second session, opening the space for questions and answers from the listeners so that we can delve deep into the chapters 2 and 3 that we have covered just now. Thank you.